Good morning, 8 o'clock on September 19th. It's Friday Eve. Makes the weekend seem closer, guaranteed. And we do have your forecast through the weekend. That's what we do here at the Weather Mic. And we'll start with the watches and warnings across the country this morning, which not a lot, really. Winter weather advisory there for the mountains of California, the Sierra Nevada, and also some flooding concerns along the central California coast, maybe a little further south and inland from that, but some heavy rain possible here. Heat advisory way down there in South Texas. We have wind advisories for South Dakota and a little bit of North Dakota as our system in Montana slowly pulls off to the northeast. And some dense fog this morning for parts of Florida into Georgia. There was snow yesterday. There sure was, mainly around Yellowstone, but you see southern parts of Montana. This is mainly south or southeast of Bozeman. There's some ski areas here, and they got quite a bit of snow. I mean, over a foot, maybe 16 inches in some areas. Pretty high elevations here, but we're starting to get to that time of year. So that's where the snow fell yesterday. Now it's time for our weather spotlight as we head to the Twin Cities of Minneapolis, St. Paul. And this is our threat for severe weather this afternoon/evening. So all the way from Duluth on north through Minneapolis, St. Paul, a lot of Wisconsin included here as well, and then continuing south into Iowa. So this is your level 2 risk, your slight risk of severe thunderstorms. The primary threat is large hail, but the secondary threats, damaging winds and isolated tornadoes. So we're looking at 3 to 9 p.m. On the timing for Minneapolis, St. Paul. Here is our severe weather outlook from the Severe Storms Prediction Center, or the Storm Prediction Center. So again, we do have a slight risk of severe thunderstorms from really the Canadian border through Duluth, through Minneapolis, through Des Moines, through Kansas City, and down to just north of Tulsa for the slight risk. The marginal risk takes you all the way down to Tulsa and Oklahoma City and expanding out to even Omaha to the west. So this is where we're watching for severe weather, and our tornado threat is there. So we're looking at a 5% risk from, basically Minnesota into a little bit of Wisconsin, Minneapolis, St. Paul right in the middle of that. And then your 2% risk takes you down through Des Moines, just to the west of Omaha, where I live, and then further south down to Kansas City. So this is where our at least chance of tornadoes are for this afternoon/evening. Surface for today shows that as well. Severe thunderstorms, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, Missouri, Kansas, maybe into Oklahoma, and that's our slow-moving system pulling into Canada out of Montana, but that cold front out ahead of it, clearing the Dakotas and into Nebraska, Kansas, and then becoming stationary into southeastern New Mexico. And it's out ahead of that. We're seeing our scattered storms, some severe. Scattered storms still continue mid-Atlantic down through Florida and the Gulf Coast, and then also some thunderstorm, shower, and thunderstorm activity for the Northeast into Maine. And our new system into California with those rain showers could be pretty heavy for the central California coast or a little south of that. And then that changes to a chance of snow into the mountains there of California. Highs today, west 70s for the coastal areas of Oregon and Washington. Cooler, of course, with elevation. 80s, central California. 90s, the desert southwest. And then back up into the Rockies, really 60s and 70s here. But cooler with elevation. Looking at 70s to near 80 for the Dakotas, but upper 80s for Iowa, where I live, and then we get smack dab in the mid 90s for Kansas into Oklahoma, upper 90s, and mid to upper 90s to near 100 for Texas. Then the southeast, low 90s, basically till you get to Georgia, we're back in the 80s. And then as you head northward, we have Nashville at 91, also Cincinnati at 91, 90 for Indianapolis, but cooler along the Atlantic coast, 80 for Raleigh, 70s Virginia, into Pennsylvania and New York. Let me know if I get too bogged down in these temperatures, because if you'd like me to move on or not include this map, I am kind of curious, so let me know in the comments. Lows tomorrow morning. It is refreshingly cool in the west. That's a 47 for Eugene. So, yeah, and also for Laramie, Wyoming. So, nice and cool to start tomorrow morning. 50s and 60s Central California, 70s Desert Southwest, and for Texas through Oklahoma into Missouri, and then back into the 60s Illinois, Iowa, up into parts of Wisconsin. 50s in the Great Lakes and into the Northeast, and 60s to near 70 for the Southeast. Tomorrow's surface, less severe weather on this map. And our cold front through the plains making further eastward progress now through Iowa, but a chance of scattered storms from New Mexico through Kansas, Missouri, Illinois, up into the Great Lakes, and another cold front up there in North Dakota. So a little bit cooler there, and also through the Pacific Northwest. Still some showers for Florida and some steadier rain for parts of New England. Severe tomorrow, there's a chance. It's just a marginal chance. We're looking at South Bend, Indiana, maybe not quite up to Grand Rapids, Michigan, and over into Illinois, south of Chicago. And then the rest of the green on this map is just your regular thunderstorms. Highs for tomorrow, 100 Oklahoma City. Ouch, that's kind of the bullseye of the heat, with mid to upper 90s for Texas into Louisiana and Arkansas and even parts of Missouri. Further north, it's still warm. I mean, upper 80s to near 90 here in Iowa. That's 90 for Omaha. We have a 90 there in South Dakota, but then transitioning into the 70s up around the Canadian border through Minnesota and the upper Great Lakes. 80s through the mid-Atlantic, 80s, and then 70s for the Northeast. And then the West is cooler, but a little warmer than yesterday. 48-hour rainfall, the next 48 hours. Look at South Florida, up to 2 inches plus in parts down near Miami. Still a little bit of rain there for the coast of North Carolina. And then as we get into Iowa, we're looking up to an inch for some areas. Wisconsin up to 2 inches for some areas. Our surface for Saturday as we get into your weekend forecast. Look at that rain there. Look at that rain mixed with snow or snow for Colorado, poking into Wyoming. As another cold front moves towards the Midwest, we see a lot more showers busting out for eastern New Mexico into West Texas, through Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa, Missouri, Illinois, Wisconsin, Minnesota. We'll just name all the states. Scattered storms into the Midwest. Still some rain for Florida and still some rain for the Northeast. Saturday's highs, not as hot, Oklahoma and Texas, but still mid 90s. Low 90s for the Southeast, 80s to near 90 Florida, mid to upper 80s Carolinas, and then even Virginia in the 80s, but 70s for Pennsylvania, New York, and even some 60s thrown in there for the Northeast. And we have 70s and 60s for the Northern Plains, although 80s still for Iowa, but lower 80s. And then as you head into Montana, a lot of 60s here. For the West Coast, 70s still. For the Willamette Valley up to Seattle, 80s for the Central California areas, and then into the low 90s for the desert Southwest. And then we'll watch Sunday's highs. So you can see when I move from Saturday to Sunday, you see those 60s and 70s sliding further to the south and east into the plains and the Midwest, and much cooler for the Central Rockies as well. Warming up a little bit for the West Coast, so mid to upper 70s, say, for the Willamette Valley, and we see some 90s now in Central California for Sunday, and back to 100 for Phoenix. Cooler, let me do this again, keep your eyes on West Texas. So we go from 90 Lubbock to 79 Lubbock, Texas on Sunday, so nice relief and a little bit cooler for the rest of the Southeast. But still some 90s all the way into the Midwest on Sunday. Very comfortable. Virginia, Pennsylvania, New York, 70s, and some 60s further to the Northeast. Getting into the GFS now, as we start you out this morning. Here's our big low Moving into Canada, we're at 15Z. I think you subtract 5 from that, so we're at 10 o'clock this morning, Central Time, I do believe. So that's 2 hours from now. Pretty quiet, but as we go through the day, we'll start to see this is our area of severe weather and possibly even isolated tornadoes. So this is the area that the Storm Prediction Center is warning about. And we do see a big area of, looks like really some strong storms here. Minnesota into Wisconsin busting out. This would be into the afternoon hours and then into the evening hours, fizzling out and moving off to the east. So, but still a chance for severe weather here. And we do see some snow up here in Alberta, Canada, eh? This gets us into Friday in the afternoon, and then we move into the later in the afternoon. See a nice big storm here in New Mexico. This was on here yesterday too. So as we get into late in the day tomorrow, watch out for some showers and storms busting out in eastern New Mexico. Pretty quiet as we get into Saturday. And then we do see our disturbance now forming into the Central Rockies, and this will be moving into the plains. And we already see this is Saturday 21Z, so Saturday afternoon. We're starting to see some strong storms into Kansas, into Colorado, parts of the Texas Panhandle, Oklahoma Panhandle. And as we go through the day Saturday, this is Saturday evening, we see those showers and even some snow with this low, and a pretty good chance of rain for West Texas through the Oklahoma and Texas Panhandles into Kansas and Colorado. A little bit of rain here for Missouri. Let's take you into Sunday. So this is midnight Saturday. Showers and storms from Missouri into Kansas mainly, and then back into Colorado. And then moving into Iowa, Nebraska, and Iowa as we get into the day Sunday. This is Sunday morning, a little later in the day on Sunday. Now, I will tell you the GFS has this activity a little bit further south than, say, the European has. So the European has more rain further north into Iowa and Nebraska. So we'll see how it, if it averages out or which one is right. But as we get into later in the day Sunday, we see the showers moving into Illinois, Indiana, and Michigan. Also lingering into Kansas, West Texas, and Nebraska. And then we get through the day on Sunday. Look at this Sunday night. Some strong storms, Oklahoma, and then also parts of the Great Lakes into Kentucky and Virginia and West Virginia. So we'll see if this comes true or if the European is more correct and we get a little bit further north action on this. But here we go into Monday now. We're starting to see some stronger storms in Illinois. Now let me zoom ahead because we have still, oh, look at that. This is the 25th. Big storms for West Texas. As we go through time, though, here comes a low into the Gulf, and then it starts to lift off towards Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida. Now, the Canadian doesn't have this at all. The Canadian has nothing. But as we get into the 29th and 30th, the GFS has what looks like could be a hurricane for parts of the Gulf. So definitely bears watching as we get towards the end of the month and then into the beginning of October. All right, here are your 6 to 10 day temperatures. This is the 24th through the 28th, and most of the country with a good chance of above average temperatures. And precipitation wise, if we get a hurricane or a tropical system into the southeast, that definitely would give us the best chance of some above average rainfall. And according to the National Weather Service, or the precipitation probability outlook from the National Weather Service, has above average chances for above average temperature for much of the East Coast and parts of the Midwest Central Plains as well. So that's a look at your forecast through the weekend and beyond. Of course, plenty of time to see what's going to happen in the Gulf of Mexico. And we'll see where the severe weather and the slight chance of tornadoes are today. and who gets the rain as we get into the weekend. Will it be further south of Omaha, or will it be further north where I live? I'm kind of hoping for further north. But we'll keep you posted as we go, you know? So I really appreciate you. Thanks for the subscriptions. It's really nice. The likes are encouraging. Love your comments and requests. And we'll see you tomorrow right here on the Weather Mic.